All right, geometry class. Welcome back to my kids' playroom. So we are going to continue with triangles today. But before we get there, let me just remind you of kind of the expectations around the work. You're expected to watch the video, and then you have two options after you watch the video. Is either comment on the video, either in Canvas, on YouTube, send me an email, somewhere, somewhere comment on it. Questions, concerns about the video, things you don't understand, all that stuff. And then that's it for today. Okay, that's it. Or you can watch the video and then you have the work packet. You can do some of the work in the work packet. However long the video ends up being, you work for the rest of the time in the work packet. If the questions about these options, please email me. Let me know. Today's Tuesday. You're going to be Wednesday. You're going to be expected to work in the work packet, kind of show what you learned from the first two videos. Thursday is going to be a makeup day where you can look back on past assignments and hopefully make something up. And then Friday is our social emotional day where you can meet with our social workers, behavior specialists, and there'll be different times. So look for emails around those things. I know we are planning on doing some kind of group email out to everyone with a video of all of us. So enjoy it. We're looking to get some engagement from you guys. We really want to hear from you. We want to see you. We want to see what you've been up to. So please, let us know what's going on. Math, geometry, the fun stuff now. Triangles part 2. We talked in the other video about how we have scalene triangles, isosceles triangles, right triangles, and how they can be named by their sides also, equilateral triangles. So I mean, there's a lot of different obtuse, cute, different ways that we can name the triangles, either by their sides or by their angles. But now we're going to talk about kind of looking at the angles and figuring out kind of the measure of the angles. And there's a big piece here that we always have to understand, that the sum of all the angles in a triangle is always 180 degrees. It doesn't matter what the triangle looks like. It can be a right triangle, scalene triangle, it can be an equilateral triangle, isosceles triangle. They all have the same feature where all the angles add up to 180 degrees. So just as a little example, I put this up here where it says we have two angles, we have 70 and 60. So I want to take a look and I say 70 and 60, I want to find x. So I take 180 and where I add my 70 and 60 together, I get 130. And I take that 130 and I subtract it from 180. So I have 180 subtract 130 and I end up with 50, okay? So I know this last angle is 50 degrees. So x equals 50 because 50 plus 60 plus 70 is going to give me my 180 degrees, okay? And that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for 180 degrees. So let's take a look at another one that's a little bit different. All right. We're still looking for x here, okay? I know there's 180 degrees, but I'm only given one number. I'm given 20. But then I think back, wait a second, what does this little box mean? So that box means 90 degrees. That means I have 90 degrees and I have 20 degrees. So 90 plus 20 is 110. So I take 180 and subtract 110 from it, and I'm left with 70. I know that x is equal to 70, right? Because this is 90 degrees. All right? Easy enough. This is just kind of basic math, basic arithmetic, adding and subtracting. Just got to recognize what our values are on each one of the angles. So we'll look at something maybe just a bit more difficult, but we can still figure it out. We got to remember, so x we got to remember what our property, we take a look at this triangle and we say, these two dashes, what do those two dashes mean? Those two dashes means that this is an isosceles. I-S-O-S-C-E-L-E-S. Isosceles triangle. And in an isosceles triangle, I have two sides that are the same and two angles that are the same. Okay? So, I know that these have to be the exact same angle for that to be an isosceles triangle. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take the 80 and I'm subtracting from the 180, from the whole of the triangle, and I'm left with 100. So I know that these two added up together are going to give me 100. And they have to be the same thing. So what number plus itself is going to give you 100? It's easy. 50 plus 50 is going to give you 100. So this is 50 and that's 50. So I have x equals 50. All right. And we'll do one more of these before we get to our triangle puzzles, which I enjoy. I find the triangle puzzles fun. But let's do one more where we're just finding x. All right. 110, 34, and then 3x. Okay, this one's a little different. My x actually isn't the degree for the angle. What it is, it's going to be, it's actually 3 times x is going to give you the angle. So, what do I know about this? How can I set this up? Well, I do know that all 3 of these, if I add them together, are going to give me 180. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create an equation out of it equal to 180. 34 plus 110 plus 3x equals 100. Oh, not 118, 180. 180. All right, now I'm going to add these up, combine my like terms. So I have my like terms, 34 and 110 is going to give you 144 plus 3x equals 180. And I'm subtract my 144 because I want to get my 3x all alone. Subtract 144. And I'm left with 3x equals 36. Finish it off by dividing by 3. Divided by 3. X equals 12. There's my x value. Okay, x equals 12. And I can check it against this triangle now. I can say, okay, so if x is equal to 12, 3 times 12 is 36. So this angle is going to be 36 degrees. 36 plus 34 plus 110 is going to give me 180. All right, so that works out. But my x value, the thing I'm looking for, is 12 right there. Okay, now what we're going to do is we're going to look at something it's kind of fun. It can be seen as kind of like challenging, but at the same time fun to do because it's kind of like having little puzzles that you're solving. So these are called triangle puzzles, and you can see over on the side there, I have put up kind of the basics of a triangle puzzle, what it is, or not what it is, but some information. So let's get all of this stuff out of here, and now let's just read. Or before we read, let me put one of the problems up. Okay, so this is a triangle puzzle where we're given information outside of the triangle, and we're asked to find what an angle inside the triangle is. So, a few things to remember, that the measure of a straight angle is 180 degrees. Okay, a straight angle is a straight line. Right there is 180. A supplementary angle adds to 180 degrees. So if I have an angle coming off a straight line, the whole thing adds to 180 degrees. Vertical angles are congruent. Vertical angles are angles across from one another. They're the same. And then the sum of all angles in a triangle is 180 degrees. And we know that, that's up here. We've talked about that a little bit. So we take a look at this triangle puzzle. And I say, where do I start here? How do I figure this out? I only have one angle, and then I have two blank angles. Well, what I do have is I have a straight line here and part of the supplementary angle. I have 100 degrees. So I say, if that's 100, 100 plus what gives me 180? And that answer is 80 degrees. So I have 80 and 35, and now I can find my x value. So I add my 80 to my 35, okay? So that's 5, 8, 9, 10, 11. So that's 115. So when I have 115 here, okay? So I know that that's what's left. I take my 180 and I subtract 115 from that, and I end up with 65. Because I'm looking for this last angle, so I know that x equals 65. That's my x value. 80 plus 35, 115. 180 subtract 115 is 65. I knew that I had the measure of a straight angle, which is 180 degrees, and I subtracted that because I wanted to find the supplement to that 180 from the 100, and I solved for x. Let's take a look at maybe one or two more. X, Y, Z, W, 100, and then this is 60. Okay, here we go. I have my triangle in here, and then that kind of extends, and I have an X, a Y, a Z, and then I know I have 100 over here. I'm looking for all my variables. So I'm looking for X equals, Y equals, Z equals, W equals. All right. So let's start with Y. I can figure out Y right away because I know that vertical angles that are across from each other, this one here and that one here, this one here and that one there, are equal. So Y equals 100. So 1. And then I take a look here and I say, if that's 100, I have a straight line here. Okay. And I'm looking for the other piece of the straight line right here. So this is 100, and I want to subtract 100 from 180. And that's easy. We just did that last problem. That gives me 80 degrees. 80 degrees. X is 80. And then again, I have another set of vertical angles here where, just erase this, where this angle here is across from this angle here. So if X is 80, Z also has to be 80. You see how this works? The two angles that are across from each other here are 100, 100. Two angles here are 80 and 80. And then these two add up to 180, these two add up to 180. These two, the angles that are next to each other or adjacent to one another, add up to 180. But we gotta find my W now, last piece. So I say I have an 80, a 60, 80, 60, add those up. So we're left with 8, 10, 14, 140. So I say 180, subtract 140. that's going to give me 40 degrees, right? 40 degrees, if I did my math right, which I assume I did, that's going to be my answer. All right. So I think we're gonna stop there on the worksheet for today, on the stuff for today, and some of the stuff for tomorrow. If you plan on going that route today of doing some of the work in the packet, I've got some of these triangle puzzles in there for you to complete, and then I have some more of them for tomorrow's work. Let me know if you have any issues. Please reach out. If you're having trouble reading my handwriting, I know my handwriting's bad. We've been over that 100 times in the classroom. But ask me any questions that you have, please. I hope you are all well, and I hope to hear from you soon.